Ladies, welcome back to another episode of the Revitalized Womanhood podcast. And Liz Hansen, my guest today, the beautiful, lovely Liz. We are just over here laughing and dying. And I said, of course, like in good Gina form, I should have just started recording because we're talking about, here we are, every mom, a raise of hands. I want everybody writing in to me on my DMs, on the Instagram, reach out to Liz. Well, I want to hear some funny stories about, does anybody else feel like people take you in a different way that you actually are behind the scenes, right? Like, so what you're presenting to the world is not actually what they're getting. And not necessarily, I'm not trying to be like serious, like, oh, you're trying to act like you're this really put together person. No. Well, kind of, right? The blazer. We're good. No, we're talking
I
about.
wore a blazer so you would take me seriously, Gina.
Yes, she is a serious professional. Okay.
Serious
I have a
professional groomer.
podcast. I am a serious professional. Never mind the fact that we are in my daughter's nursery right now. I am a serious professional. I am a mom who does my podcast out of my bedroom. We've established that. So sometimes I don't wear pants.
Pants not required.
Not required. As long as I don't stand up. Well, No, but I was telling Liz, ladies, I was just talking to Amy about how my content, I honestly do try to come, I'm genuine. I'm gonna be honest with, like, my last guest we just had on here, which is also a TEDx speaker, was we just kept having technical difficulties. Something on this kept popping on her end, and so we had to keep pausing it. And I was just like, oh, but like, who cares? That's life. Sometimes in life, there's a popping noise, okay? And that might be a 4-year-old screaming in the background. That might be, for your line of work, that might be some negligee that's not working out and you have to pin it in the back, and some things you're just not showing on camera. But at the end of the day, you get the shot, the child goes to bed, you are a success, right? The kids are fed, the picture's taken. That's success in my world, right?
Hey, a lot of boudoir is a little bit of smoke and mirrors, right?
Oh my gosh, I hope so. I hope so for me, not for anybody else, but for me. I have tried, I will be very, very honest here. I have not done them professionally yet, but I would really like to, especially because my husband, so for his birthday, was it for his birthday? Anyway, I don't even know. Oh, it was for our anniversary. I just did my own. I'm like, I'll just do my own for him. I'll just, whatever. And I think I did a really good job. And he gets to me handing them to him.
Like on a selfie timer?
And he's like, yeah, oh yeah, totally on the timer. And I give them to him and he's like, these are incredible. This is so cool. I'm terrified that these are now in the cloud, that my parents are somehow logged into this. Our kids, this just went to their laptop or to their tablets. Like, we need to delete every trace of whatever this is, but thank you for doing it. And I'm like, you're so right. And even funnier than that is later on, I don't know how, but all of a sudden I was going through some pictures and I'm like, why are your mom's pictures in my phone? Like, why am I seeing these pictures? And it was because we had shared, and I'm not technologically advanced enough to know whether or not I accidentally linked my entire cloud or just linked one specific folder. And so I was thinking about it in the shower yesterday because I was thinking about our conversation today, and I'm like, I bet my mother-in-law has seen a lot more of me than she signed up for. And luckily, she is the mother-in-law that would giggle to herself and delete and move on, right? She's like trying to
say my lucky son.
She would be saying, well, they had a good time in Phoenix. She babysat. We had a good time. But so I just want you to please introduce yourself finally to my listeners. Liz Hansen, thank you for joining us from Chicago. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me, Gina. It is great to be here. We're having a great time already. Yeah. My name's Liz Hansen, and I own the Chicago Boudoir photography studio. And what I do, if you haven't heard of boudoir, if you've gotten this far into the episode and you have no idea what we're talking about, boudoir is a fancy French word that means a woman's bedroom. And boudoir photography is when women come to my studio to take some sensual photos of themselves, either in lingerie or nude. And my goal is to create an empowering experience that allows them to celebrate. Anyone who comes to my studio, it allows them to celebrate their lives, their life, their body, their relationships, and themselves.
This goes so deep in so many levels, doesn't it? Your work, you could almost call yourself a little bit of a life coach in this line of work, I think, because to be able to have women feel so comfortable enough in what you're doing, first of all, to call you, feel comfortable enough to call you to doing the thing, because I would imagine you get a lot that just feel kind of pressured to do it also because they want to do it for their husbands and they feel that pressure to do it. And so I bet you have a spectrum of from you kind of have to help them get comfortable in what they're doing versus the ones that are just like, wow, I mean, really. And that it's so I have a friend, her name is Elizabeth Fay. She is an incredible human being. She is doing for the hair world what I believe was what I'm trying to explain you're doing for the boudoir photography industry. She's trying to train hairstylists in the colleges not to just do hair, but be kind of life coaches. She's offering that kind of training because who do you spill the beans to more than anybody else? Who do you like that relationship with your hairstylist is? And so she's brought those two worlds together. And I can see that as something that you have to navigate on the daily in your line of work. Am I right?
Yeah. Okay. First off, I love the idea of going to get your hair done by a life coach. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, women come to me and call me and end up in my studio for a wide range of reasons, right? So I have a lot of women who come for a happy moment in their life. Maybe they're getting married, maybe they're having a baby, maybe they're turning 40 and they're celebrating, right? And then I also have women who come in for like kind of like harder times in their lives. Maybe they have gotten out of a domestic violence relationship. Maybe they have a breast cancer diagnosis. Maybe they have experienced a loss of some kind in their life. Maybe they've lost their hair and they're trying to feel like themselves again, right? So there's a lot of different reasons why someone can show up in the studio. My goal as a photographer is always to make everyone feel comfortable and to have an experience that allows them to feel really seen while they are there at my studio. The whole point of boudoir is, yes, you can create a gift for a partner. Yes, you can, give it away. But I want women to feel seen and be celebrated and know that they are fabulous and beautiful just as they are right now. And they deserve to be photographed and they deserve to be documented and they deserve to have a day that's just for them. I mean, you and I know as mothers, I'm a mother of two. We spend so much of our lives caring for others and giving to others in our jobs and our families that to take one day and to say, this is for me and I want to document myself, that can be a really powerful expression of self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually so important to me. I had one of my retreats I did here in St. George. I hired a photographer to come and I had her take pictures of each of the women at the retreat. They didn't know this was happening. It was a surprise. But kind of like headshots, I treated them just like the photographer treated them just like she would any other business professional or anybody else coming out to get like lifestyle headshots done because women are never in the pictures, ever. They are constantly the ones taking the pictures. And yes, obviously that is a generality, but it is the majority. I believe it's the majority. So many. And that's why it's so funny when you see someone saying the picture I take of my husband and it's him all like shined and like perfectly edited. And then it's all versus the picture he takes of me. And she's like juggling her coffee and her newborn and her hair's in a knot. And she's like picking her nose or something, it's like that is so true. And so I think it is genuinely important for not just our kids to be able to look back and remember us in these moments, but for ourselves to be able to look at. And I've got this. You said it beautifully. You lined me right up for this. The lovely Moira Rose says it the best.
Love her.
Take 1,000 naked pictures of yourself now. You may currently think, oh, I'm too spooky, or nobody wants to see these tiny boobies. But believe me, one day you will look at those photos with much kinder eye. And it is
Yeah. I've often had people in the studio say, I wish I did this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, do it
Right.
now.
Do it. Yeah.
You might say like, oh, but I'm going to lose weight or whatever. Fine. Do it now and then do it in a year. Do it again in 5 years. Take all the pictures of yourself, right? Like we
Yeah.
have this short time on this planet. Document it.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with your one wild life? That poem, like,
Right.
yeah, so that's my mission as a boudoir photographer, to really help women, number one, realize that they should do this and that they can do this and that there's a safe, empowering place where they can do it with 100% female staff. I know
Mhm.
exactly what I'm doing. I'll use the studio lights to make you look great. And then not only can you do this, but like, why not? Like,
Yeah.
you deserve it. I know that when I did a boudoir photo shoot for myself, the first time, this is more than 10 years ago now, I stepped out of that studio with an extra bounce in my step and this extra desire to show up in like bigger and better ways in my life. It really was this moment where I was like, wow, I want to live life a little bigger. It was sort of like it catapulted me. And I want to give that experience to other women through boudoir.
Is that where you started? Is that where you started? Was from what made you decide this is what I want to do?
Yeah, so I'd been a photographer for a long time, doing families and weddings and things.
Right.
Newborns. I was like a normal photographer,
Yeah.
headshots. And then I did this boudoir photo shoot for myself and I thought, wow, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to offer other women. It took me a couple years, but then
Yeah.
I eventually in 2018 opened my own boudoir boutique where this is all I do, full-time boudoir, and I've now photographed more than 2,000 women.
That is so incredible. That is so incredible. I love that you harnessed this feeling that something gave you. It brought you so much joy. And now that you wanted that to flow out of everybody that comes to you and has this experience. What can you think of one where, an instance, a story that really embodies the shift from insecurity into empowerment?
Well, this woman didn't start out insecure, but I will tell you her story. This is a story that I just will never forget. A woman named Sarah came into my studio on the 1 year anniversary of a day that changed her life. She had a fatal heart attack. She died literally on the stretcher in the ambulance. And they
Wow.
revived her and brought her back, right? But in the course of being brought back to life, so she was a healthy, like 45-year-old woman, had this heart attack, died in the ambulance, was brought back to life. In the course of this experience, they opened her up like several times, her chest cavity, right? And she had scars all over her body. And she, didn't love how that looked, but wanted to come into the studio and take pictures without the photoshopping, like leaving the scars to celebrate that she was alive, right? So she no longer wanted to think about what her body looked like and to say like, oh, it has these scars, or like you said, like maybe I think no one wants to see these little boobies or whatever.
Yeah.
She was like, this body, I'm alive. I am here. And I want to celebrate that and do everything I can to appreciate this body and the time. She's like, I'm on borrowed time. Every day that I live is a gift. So I want to celebrate my body and my life here today. So she was in my studio on the 1 year anniversary of her heart attack. And that to me embodies what boudoir is about, is celebrating your body, celebrating your life, being happy to be alive, being happy with just having a body and getting this opportunity to live and to experience life, and then having the pictures to look back on to remember that experience.
Oh my gosh, 100%. Wow, what a beautiful moment to share with this woman that she allowed you to be part of that experience for her.
And listen, I have women all the time who come in just because they're just nervous just to do something outside their comfort zone. I had a woman one time, she called me from the parking lot and she was like,
She's like, "I'm not doing it. I'm out."
yeah, like I drove over here, but I'm not sure what I did. I said, listen, Kristen, just come into the studio. We'll do your hair and makeup. You've already paid for it. Let's just get it done. And we don't have to take any pictures. She's like, okay. So got her to come in. We did her hair and makeup. And then I said, listen, why don't we just take a picture of you in your street clothes? Like a headshot. We don't have to wear lingerie. And she's like, okay. So we baby step. And I said, why don't we just take some in this robe I have? It's pretty covered. So we gradually moved her into boudoir. We ended up doing a boudoir photo shoot. She loved it. We had a great time. She just needed to like baby step her way into
Yeah,
it.
for sure. For sure. That was so sweet of you. And it's true. It's like some things you just need bite size of. You don't need to eat the whole elephant. You just need to take a bite. But I bet she left there feeling incredible. And I bet, do you know what's interesting is so much of the insecurity, like I said, you need to be a life coach. I'm serious. You need to, because a lot of what you're doing and exposing a woman, because if you think about us naked, the way we came, it goes along with one of my favorite things. One of my good friends, Teresa, told me is when a baby's born, what they're celebrated, right? Everybody's in the room, everybody's excited, everybody is like cheering and so happy and grateful, and it's just a feeling of abundance and joy and the celebration. Well, what did this baby do? It breathed. That is it. Literally it. So when we come into this world, we come into this world, we are celebrated for just being us. Okay. So along the way, whatever reason there is, there's 5 million reasons, this, that, the other happens, and we don't even feel worthy of having a picture taken of ourselves because it is so wrapped up in all of the things from point A to point B that went along in our lives for that. So I truly do believe that a boudoir photo shoot is one of the, ladies, I'm telling you, listeners, okay, if you feel like you want to step out of your comfort zone and find something to be really empowered by, just like Liz is saying, go have this done. Go get a boudoir photography shoot done. Because yeah, you can go jump off a cliff into a waterfall. You can go skydiving. You can go, I mean, there are so many things that even going to a party and like mingling with people, that these are all things that can push you out of your comfort zone and make you feel a little more empowered. But other than risking your life for some of these things, yes, I think that is absolutely an experience that would have any woman feeling, especially in the right situation, the right scenario. Have you ever had a situation where the person left just like, I'm not doing this, I just can't? Because I'm curious about where their mental state was when that was happening.
So I do things at my studio maybe a little differently than some photographers do, which is this. So when you sign up for a photo shoot with me, you come into the studio, you get your hair and makeup done, and then we take the pictures. And then right then and there, while you're at the studio, I show you a slideshow of your pictures. Here's why. I want you to see the pictures before they're photoshopped. I want you to see how fabulous you are, just as you are. And on the business side, you don't buy the pictures until you see them. So when people come into my studio, there's no real risk here, right? They haven't purchased a photo collection before they come in. And when they see the pictures, they buy the pictures that they love. So I've lowered all the risk for you. If you come into my studio and I show you those pictures and you don't love them, you don't have to buy them. You can walk out. No big deal, right? Now, does that ever happen? Like hardly ever. People see the pictures, they want them, they buy them, right? But what I've done is taken all the risk onto myself and said, it's my job to create pictures that you'll love. It's my job to give you an experience that you'll love. And if you love it, great, you can buy the pictures. If not, like just go home and you really haven't lost anything except for a few hours of your life, right? So
yeah,
in that way, I never have people leaving disappointed, right? Like I never have people leaving the studio unhappy because they haven't taken any of that risk on themselves. Does that make sense how I'm explaining that?
yeah. Do you see the change? So I have a thing I like to call my magic mirror, where when the women come to my community and I meet them and we talk and I get to ask them questions about their goals and what they see for themselves, like as the woman they are becoming and want to be in 5 years, or, all of these things. And I sit there and I have this conversation, and I don't know what it is about me, but I see them clearly before I know they see themselves. I've had it happen so many times where, say, for example, one of my dear friends, she came to this community and I said to her after a certain amount of time, I said, you are going to be a leader in this community. And she was like, no, you're wrong. You are dead wrong. And I'm like, just so you know, I'm warning you now so that you can sort of start wrapping your head around this. You are going to be a leader in this community. And like, I knew it. She just exuded something about her was leadership, and in a different way than some people might see leadership. And I think that's why she wasn't recognizing it, is because she's viewing leadership as Ed Milet or Emily Frizzell, or, these powerhouse, like very loud, very, all in type leadership, versus I had to help her see that leadership could be quiet and gentle and nurturing, and right. And I'm like, you leadership. So, and so I'm wondering how you get to experience women who come in the same way, and you literally have a mirror. You literally have this lens that you get to flip and show them. Like I just explained with my friend, I got to show her who I was seeing, the reflection I was seeing. She became this person, and you literally get to do it right then. So all of the work that these women in my community are doing that could take months, years, you have the opportunity to get to show them right then. Do you remember any situations where it was like that obvious that it was you showed them the mirror?
Yeah, and I love that analogy that you're using. It feels like such a privilege to be there with women.
It
I
does. It
know,
really does.
yeah, women put a lot of trust in me when they sign up for a boudoir photo shoot with me, and it feels like a real privilege to be there in that moment. I have women all the time. I put the pictures I've taken up on the screen, and one of the first things they like often say is that me? I'm like, yeah, of course that's you. We just took those photos. It's an interesting reaction, right? That they
Right.
almost don't recognize that side of themselves. And here's why. I mean, think about this. We don't, how often do you see your back?
Never.
You rarely see, I mean, maybe if you had to like be like, is there something weird on my back? You'd go get a mirror and look, right? But like,
Right.
you don't see yourself you don't see yourself from above. You don't see yourself from behind, right? And like, I can take pictures in views of yourself that you have literally never seen, right? And I mean that kind of figuratively too. Like, have
Right.
you ever seen yourself as the confident, sexy goddess that I know you are? Sexy isn't a size, right? Sexy is an attitude. And I can bring that out in you when you're in my studio. And some women have never let themselves go, never let themselves feel that or embody that or be that. And so when I show them those pictures, they don't recognize themselves because they haven't ever stepped into that role. But it's always been there and it's part of them. And I just love documenting and capturing that.
You are capturing I love this conversation because it is so important to me. Especially right now, I'm reading this book about masculinity and like good masculinity, and I am just dying. I've asked so many resources that I have, like, where's the women's version that is this good about femininity? Because you have these ones out here that are kind of fluffy or woohooey, and I want the one that's like, yeah, we have to be in our masculine sometimes. That's just the get shit done side of us. But you can also be in your femininity while you're in the get shit done side of it as well, right? And you are letting them release that. You're allowing them this safe space to pour out all of this femininity, right? And femininity is not, like you're saying, it's not just a sexual, physical thing. It's them feeling confident, feeling empowered. That is the femininity. That is the, like, I'm going to have to write this book or something because I cannot find the one that I want that just is yes, yes, right? And that is exactly what you're explaining, that you're showing women how to see themselves without, I call them these glasses, and they're like these dark lensed glasses, because the way that they see themselves is through years of negative self-talk, years of comparing themselves to other people, years of people saying it shouldn't be done this way, it needs to be done this way, or you're not good enough, or, even if it's just them saying it, it's years of this. And so now they're seeing their reflection through those lenses, right? It's like all of the negative self-talk, there's a lens. All of the abuse, there's a lens. All of the, right? So that's what they're seeing in their reflection. They are incapable of seeing what you're seeing or anybody else in the world is seeing until they've done the work. And so it is, you said it, you nailed it. It is such an honor to be able to be with someone when they get to have that experience. And those lenses come off and they get to see clearly how they are actually seen in the world. Have you ever seen, there was a reel just now, and I see it all the time because I have a newborn and she looks at me like this all the time. You know, she's in the carrier and she's just looking up at me like, and it was this cutest little boy, this mom in the grocery store. She just grocery shopping and the baby in the carrier. And it must be the dad filming this baby just like, just staring at her, just like, I love you. I love you. And when's the last time have even ever, ever in our lives, have you looked at yourself in the mirror with that kind of love and respect and adoring, you know, like, or felt that anybody else sees you that way, aside from, luckily, when we have these little newborns that show it, you know?
Yeah, I've in so many ways, culturally, women are socialized um, to do what you're talking about, to, you know, put ourselves down, to
Right.
say, you know, we're saying, oh, you shouldn't put yourself out there. That's vain or that's vanity or something, or, you know, that's being bossy. Or so we've like socialized, I, often from a very young age to play small, to stay in the lane, do what we're told, not do too much, not be too loud, you know, not show too much skin, right? And what that can do to us is it can convince us to continue to play small our whole lives, right?
Right.
And what my hope is with Boudoir is that it gives people permission to show up in bigger ways and say, like, no, I deserve to take up space. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to do this or that. I deserve to see myself in this light. And so, I mean, I know that I experienced that for myself with the boudoir photo shoot, just kind of opening that door to feeling a little bit more and doing a little bit more. And I hope that like every woman who steps into my studio feels that like I've opened a little door for them as well to feel something a little bigger.
Right.
And like you said, to look in that mirror and look at yourself with new eyes, to adore yourself, to show some love to yourself. Show some love to that body that carries you around, allows you to live this life, you know? Many of us spend our whole lives hating our bodies when our body is what allows us to run and feel and hug. And so showing a little bit of love and self-compassion, it just will spill out into other ways. You can't love others very well until you've love yourself first. So
Yeah. There's so much to unpack with that. There's so much to unpack with not loving your body for whatever it is right now. When we get off, I'm going to send you this Instagram post I did, but it's so interesting the mindsets that we get so wrapped up in when it's like, does your body get you out of bed? Did you wake up this morning? Period. Did you wake up? Thank the Lord, right? I had a friend on here, Seth Studley, that he's a marriage and family counselor, and he said, one thing I do is when I first get out of bed, when my feet touch the ground, it's like left, right, thank you. It's like me thanking God already that just right out of the bat, I woke up. I lived another day, right? So there's so much to unpack with that where it's like, yeah, your body's it, especially women. Hello. I know men go through this too, but especially women. Oh my gosh, the metamorphoses that we go through in a lifetime, I always say is like we've been 42 butterflies. By the time we end our life, we have become 42 different butterflies because of how many times that we've actually physiologically changed and endured through so much change. And it's like so interesting to me that instead of seeing that as incredible and beautiful, and it's unfortunate that the people who really get to see it that way are the ones that, like you said, that beautiful woman who had, survived this tragedy, or someone with a death sentence, that's some illness that they know is imminent or anything like that. It's
but imagine
incredible.
if you could get to that point of appreciating your body without having to have a fatal stroke,
Yes,
without
that's
having to have the
that's
breast
the work
reconstruction.
I'm trying to do here.
Yeah,
That
like
is my goal.
without that. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
have to suffer something terrible to get to this place, you know, and that's the trick, right? Like I think
Mhm.
sometimes it does take something really dramatic to wake us up, but what if you could wake up and love your body without the trauma of the heart attack?
Yep. Yep. I have one of the members because so this month we're doing the topic is your next bold move. And for her, it's a new wardrobe. And I'm like, that's incredible. That's awesome. That's a good one. However, I'm going to warn you right now that if you haven't done all of the good work around your body image, no wardrobe's going to be good enough. It's not going to be okay. So, does your next bold move actually need to be the work in loving yourself while you search for a new wardrobe? But you know what I mean? Because it's never enough. It's never enough.
So it's interesting. People always think like, okay, if I was a size 4, I would just
Oh,
absolutely love and worship my body. Like I would,
right.
but what you don't realize is there are women walking around in size 4 bodies who hate their bodies,
Yeah.
right? So it's not objectively
Yeah.
about the size. It
It's
never was
not at
about,
all, and you have women who are blessed that are just owning all of those curves and as confident as could be, right? It
yeah.
has nothing to do with size. I
Right.
have so many friends, and honestly, irritatingly enough, coming from a size 4, I will tell you, it is so irritating to have something that you want to work on with your body and not be allowed to share that because people shame you for being skinny. You know, it's like, I have
Sure.
a flat butt. That comes with being skinny. You lose your muscle, right? Your muscle tone. So unless you're eating so much protein and lifting weights and doing all of these things to have a specific body, it is hard work to get there. But you're constantly shamed for, oh, what are you complaining about? You're skinny or whatever, you know? So yeah,
Women
it's
are put in an impossible position and we do it to each
impossible.
other, right? Like, oh, be thin but not too thin, right? Be curvy but
Mhm.
not too curvy, right? And then like other
Right.
women put other women, oh, well, you lost weight, you look better before. Oh, you should lose weight. Why not? Well,
You're
it's
too
so that
thin. Yeah.
we are literally like terrible to
We're
each other.
damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. And you're right, it really truly is so much just from each other. It is
Yeah.
women versus women. And so I do love this new culture of healthy. Healthy. What does that mean to you? It's like anything. Success. What does that mean to you? Happy marriage. What does that mean to you? That's the question I want to put back on anybody with anything, right? It's like your body image. Well, what's success look like for you for that? Your marriage. What does success look like for you with that? What your parenting style? What does success look like? Has nothing to do with everybody out. The world is so loud that I love that finally we're getting to a point where we're like, quiet. I need you all to be quiet. This is me living my life, right?
On my terms.
On my terms. And I think that you are 100% on point, on target with that branding.
I do love what I do. I feel like one of the reasons I didn't realize until after I started my boudoir business that I was able to look back and realize one of the reasons I love what I do is because I think often as a child and a teen, I wasn't seen. I
Mhm.
wasn't always valued for just who I was. And I love offering that opportunity that I didn't have to other women, right? So maybe I wasn't always seen or appreciated, but now I can see and appreciate other women when they come
Mhm.
into my studio. Give them this one day where they are perfect just as they are and let them know that and feel that because that's what I wanted for myself. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? And
Oh,
so
absolutely.
it gives me like such great joy to work in a field where I get to really provide exactly what I want to do and provide. So I'm really lucky that I get to do what I do as a job. I've been doing it full time for 7 years and I just hope to keep doing it. But I feel like every woman deserves to have a boudoir photo shoot at least once in their life.
Isn't it incredible when they really say that if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life? Isn't it so cool when you finally find that and you're living it every day?
Yeah, I mean, running a boudoir business is work too.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Happens.
yes,
You
I mean,
gotta worry about some things, but also
yeah, it's interesting.
it's the passion I hear you having in it that I know that you're like, at the end of the day, it's so worth it.
Absolutely. Interestingly, it's like 10% taking pictures and 90% other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who runs a small business knows how that goes. You like get into it because you're like, I love flowers, but then it turns out you're like, this is actually just a lot of QuickBooks and quarterly
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah, it's so annoying. My husband always says just because you cut hair doesn't mean you should own a salon.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about your TEDx stage. You had the courage to speak on a TEDx stage.
Yeah.
How did you get there? Where were you before that and where were you after that? Because I can imagine that was two different perspectives of yourself, the before and after.
So something that I do for my boudoir business is I have a Facebook group, and I've got about 10,000 local women in the Facebook group,
Wow.
Chicago area women. And it's a space where we come together and talk about ways that women can be empowered in all areas of their lives. And I love showing up in that group. I love being a part of that group. I post like a thought-provoking question every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And if your listeners want to join, I'd love to have them.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm like, I got to go get in on that. That sounds
I'd love to
amazing.
have you. And one of the women who was in the group was the organizer for the local TEDx conference that was coming up.
Cool.
And she messaged me and she was like, I've been in your group for a while. Love your vibe. What would you think about applying to give a TEDx talk? And I was like, a TED talk? Like, I didn't. So I guess public speaking hadn't been a big part of my life.
Yeah.
But you know what? I just applied and I got in, and it was a very cool experience. So I gave a 13-minute talk from memory on stage in front of a huge audience. And my talk is Nudity Isn't Naughty. So it talked about why, like, the power of showing up in your naked body for like celebrating your body, and how we don't need to be ashamed of our bodies. And then it's on YouTube and you can go watch it if you want to. It was a very cool experience meeting the other speakers, being a part of the conference. And since that TEDx experience, I've now kind of gone into doing some more speaking. So being on podcasts and trying to get my message out in various ways that way.
I think it's incredible because on a surface level, someone might say, I'm a boudoir photographer. I'm a photographer. That's all I do. But your platform is so much bigger than that, is so much deeper than that. And it is incredible that you see it that way, because it's not just skin deep, right? It's so much more than that, than surface level. So where did I go? Okay, yes, my next question. How do you navigate the balance between embracing a natural beauty versus Instagram filter?
So listen, filters are fun. We all
Yeah.
love filter. I'm not anti-filter. The way I work at my studio is you see the pictures the same days you shoot without the photoshopping, because I
Right.
want you to see that you're gorgeous just as you are.
Mhm.
Then you go home, and if you want to request some photoshopping, I'll do all the photoshopping you want. For example, if I'm going to print you an album and you have a little acne on your face and you don't want that acne immortalized in your album for the rest of time, you know what? Let's take that out. You don't have to look at that acne every time you look at your album. I'm happy to Photoshop that out. What I don't do is make you look like a whole nother person.
Right.
I want you to pick photos that you love and that represent you and your journey just as you are. So every person who comes to my studio gets to decide what they want photoshopped and what they don't. But I do hope that women, I mean, of course, anything that you've seen at the studio and picked to purchase, it wasn't photoshopped yet. So you loved it enough already,
Yeah.
Listen, I use filters in Photoshop just like everyone else. I love it, has its place. And I mean, I love putting little bunny ears on myself and deer antlers and whatever else you can do on Snapchat. It's fun. And I think there's also some power in rejecting some of that and saying, I don't need to filter out everything to love myself and celebrate myself just as I am.
Yeah. What would your advice be to someone trying to build their self-worth on the other side of this lens, right?
So self-worth is an interesting concept because it is completely made up, really, right?
It's
You
true.
can,
Yeah, it's relative.
it's completely relative, right? So you can have a person who has $1 million and a boat and a great job who thinks very low of themselves,
Mhm.
right? I mean, you can have someone who, to most people, you think, well, they don't have a very good life. They just live in a little place and they just garden or whatever. But they like think they're awesome and they love their life, right? So like
Right.
self-worth does not come from, all of these things that I think we like I like to say, like we go around life like trying to pick up trophies, right? Like, oh, I got a degree. Oh, I got
Oh yeah,
married. I had a
trophies,
baby.
100%
Oh, I
trophies.
lost weight, whatever.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't think our self-confidence and our self-worth is actually based on those two. You can pick up 100 trophies and still not have love for yourself in your heart, right?
Right.
So I think the first step is to like decouple the idea of loving yourself from those trophies, right? Like you were saying, that newborn baby has never lost weight. That newborn baby has never had a job. That newborn baby has never had a romantic relationship. And that there's so much love for that baby, right? And if we can see ourselves that way too, as intrinsically valuable and kind of take away what we do from who we are, I think that's the first step, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're not your job. You're
Mhm.
not your kids. You're not your marriage. You are intrinsic. Those are great things. I'm glad you have them, and
Yeah.
I hope you love them. But that's not
But
what
those
makes,
hats come off. They're hats. They're labels.
because if you put all of your self-worth into your kids, for example, then your kids make a choice that you don't like. Suddenly that becomes very detrimental to your own sense of self, right?
Mhm.
So, because you think, oh, well, I wouldn't have made that choice or that bad decision. And then
Or how are
let me,
my friends going to think of me? How does this reflect me as a parent? How does this, yeah.
right? And so the first thing to do is try to stand on your own feet for who you are and know that you're valuable just for being you and for being human, for being alive, and not for any of those things that you've accumulated along the way or things that you haven't done along the way, right? Like, oh, well, I didn't get a degree, I didn't get married, I didn't have kids, I didn't buy a house, whatever. Like, that doesn't make you less valuable either.
Right.
Right?
Oh,
So you gotta
100%.
start there and like take away that stuff first. That's the first step, I think.
Yeah. I think that's beautifully said. I love it. It made me think of, have you ever read the book, The Choice by Dr. Edith Eva
I'm
Egger?
not familiar with that one.
She is incredible. Oh my gosh, she's she's still living survivor of the Holocaust, and she is a psychiatrist in New York. And there's a point in the book where she says that she has a woman who comes in and says, I mean, imagine what she's survived through. She was 16 in the Holocaust, right? Um, imagine what she's survived through. And she has a woman, one of her patients, who is thinks the world ending because her Cadillac came in the wrong color, right? And she talks about how you cannot compare someone's grief. You cannot compare someone's bad day to your bad day. You can't. They're not comparable. It's obviously the thing is the thing under the thing under the thing, the basement deeper thing with her. There's a bigger problem here. It's not the color of the Cadillac, obviously. That's just the surface level thing. But she says, and I thought that is so powerful for someone to experience the worst of the worst of the worst of humanity and come out on the other side of it and appreciate that a woman who's complaining, who's upset about the color of her Cadillac is on the same level of grief as. And I'm like, ugh, but it's so beautiful that she points that out because it's the same as exactly what you're saying is someone else's success isn't mean that I'm a failure. Someone else's, life as a mother or wife or whatever doesn't mean that because I don't have those things, I'm less than. And we all have to define what we're going to call it success, right? What success for ourselves, what empowerment for us. We have to define what that looks like for us. And then look at our life and find each moment where those truths are proven every day. Like, oh, I wake up and I have motivation to go to the gym. You're winning with success, right? Like you have to find the things in your life where you can prove. I call them truths versus beliefs, right? Beliefs are just things that we've been told so many times that we think they're truths, but they're not actually truths. Like I had a woman in my community once come to me and she's like, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to be shocked. I mean, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so mortified to even talk to you about it. And I'm like, waiting for her to admit that she murdered someone, right? I'm just like, okay, what is it? And she tells me finally, and I'm like, that happens like 10 times a week in this house. Like I have 3 boys, that happens all the time. And not that I obviously didn't say it like that because I don't want to belittle that she felt upset about something, but it was a belief. I just wanted to point out to her that she's because of her background, she's so wrapped up and wound up in that this belief is a truth. But let me help you kind of show you that I don't have that belief. So maybe you can release it and it's not actually a truth because I don't see it that way.
I mean, so much of how we experience life is in the stories we tell ourselves about what
Oh,
things
yeah.
mean. I mean, it was so funny. The other day, I was just as a silly example, I was talking to my sister and she was like, yeah, I have this one shirt that I got from Stitch Fix, which is like an online shopping place. And she's like,
Yeah.
I don't wear it anymore because one time I wore it and I saw a girl and she was wearing the same shirt and it made me feel like, so I never wear that shirt anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what's so crazy? He's like, I have some shirts from Stitch Fix. And one time I was out and I saw someone else wearing it. I was like, yes, girl, we are Stitch Fix sisters. Like I love the experience. And so
Yeah.
I wear that shirt all the time now, hoping that I'll find another Stitch figure out in the wild. And I was like, it's so interesting. We both had the same experience, which was wearing a shirt out and seeing someone else wear it. Which
Right.
you took it to mean that it was embarrassing and shameful and she should never wear the shirt again. And I took it to mean this was so awesome. I'm going to wear that shirt as
Part of a club.
possible and I can find people in my club, right?
Right.
And so I've never, like, I keep thinking about that story. There's so many things in life like that where we experience something and we tell a different story about what it means.
Yeah.
And that changes our experience in life about it.
What has this journey in this trade taught you about confidence?
So, I mean, I've photographed like 2,000 women. I've seen women from all walks of life, all sizes and shapes, all ages, married, single, divorced, widowed, remarried. And over and over again, I love knowing that every woman that steps in my studio, they have their own story. Whatever it is worth celebrating. I've never had someone come into the studio where I'm like, nah, they don't need photos, right? Like every woman, doesn't matter where they are in life, what they look like, their age, their marital, like I know when I'm taking those pictures, these are pictures that I want to take, that they're going to want to have, that are worth creating, that are worth having.
Yeah.
That's what it means to me to have some confidence in yourself, is to know that you're worth documenting. It doesn't mean you're a size 2. It doesn't mean you don't have cellulite. It doesn't mean blah, 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 whatever. That's not what this is about. This is about knowing that it's not about waiting for the right time. It's knowing that you're beautiful, valuable, worth it right here, right now, because you are human, because you have a story. And every woman does.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, incredible. I love it. Thank you so much. I love where you ended that because that's one of my most favorite parts about having a podcast is letting women share their stories. I have a mentor that got me into this. He's got the men's community version and he podcasts with the most successful men you could, imagine, right? And so when he was kind of mentoring me on the podcast, he's like, okay, well, you're going to want to be successful. You're going to need to have an A, 2 Bs, and a C. So basically celebrity status, A, 2 Bs, and a C, right? And in a month. So 4 episodes. And I'm like, cool. I'm going to ask my mom to be on, and I'm going to ask my mother-in-law to be on. And I'm going to ask so-and-so to be on. And I'm going to ask so-and-so to be on because women, for me in this podcast and what I want this podcast to be about is the stories we all have to tell. We all have a story. And it doesn't matter if you are recognized for that story internationally or globally or whatever. You have a story. You are on this planet making a ripple in time with your story. And it is worth sharing. And so thank you so much for joining me in that messaging because I'm doing it podcasting, telling the story, and you're doing it documenting that moment in time in history in a photograph. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate you joining me today. Fun conversation.
This was really fun.